Hello everyone, this is Taryn with Wonderfully Made Handcrafting, and today I'm starting to work through the newest devotional kit from ByTheWell4God, Trusting a Good God. This kit was written by Judy Allen, and last night I had an opportunity to read through the whole study front to back, and I decided to star all the days that really resonated with me or something that I knew I needed to work on, and that day 4 was one of those days. So I'm working on day 4 today. We are in Psalm 9:10, which says, "And those who know your name put their trust in you. For you, O Lord, have not forsaken those who seek you." And so Judy is talking about in this devotional that if we really seek him, then we can learn to trust him more. And she also is speaking on the hymn, "'Tis So Sweet to Trust in Jesus," which is one of my favorite hymns. So I decided to add that to my page. I have a hymn book that can just kind of rip out pages of songs, and this definitely made the whole page come together. Now, being honest here, this page has a good amount of work to it, and that doesn't have to be what Bible journaling is about. Why I like my pages really busy and textured and lots of layers and all that stuff is because when I love something visually and add little clues to what the study was about, then it helps me remember my actual study. When I see something and remember something, it helps me remember what I studied, because I do my studying outside of this journaling Bible, and so to have this be my art process really helps me out. Bible journaling doesn't have to be this in-depth. I started with just faux calligraphy. I loved that. And I also had some watercolors. And that's basically what I worked with for a year and a half before I started adding more stuff to my collection and art supplies. But this is what I love now, and this is the style that I love. And this is what helps me remember my stuff. So I don't really feel bad in making these, extravagant pages or whatnot. I love them, and that's what helps me remember stuff. I hope that if you don't like extravagant pages, that you can still take little notes here and there, or, get some tips and tricks on how you can use that in your journaling Bible. Because I know it's a little extra here. But anyways, I wanted to kind of talk about this process. I took this page in the back, the farmer's directory and account. That is a piece of paper that I dyed with some distress re-inkers. And so I did that in another YouTube video. I'll try to link it below. But I ended up loving this look. And so I did a stamp on it with the new God of Salvation stamp set. And honestly, the more I let that sit on the page, the more it bleaches it out, the re-inker ink. So it looks really cool now that that page has sat for a number of hours, because the words of that stamp kind of bleached out. I did use the antique linen distress oxide, and now we're just kind of making a cluster. So I had this seek flashcard because we're talking about seeking the Lord and learning to trust in him. So that has the verse that I'm working through, Psalm 9:10, and I'm going to do that really fun rust technique by Tiffany. I have done this a couple times before, and all you do is use the Snowfall grit paste and then add some rusty Hinge distress spray and also some ground espresso. Now, this is a lot of putting it on and, taking some of the ink off and then putting more on. So it's kind of a process until you decide that you like it. So you'll see me here could just kind of work with it and just keep on putting it on and taking it off until I get that nice rust look that I want to see. You also may have seen in my cluster I was working with on the page, I have some florals that came in the ephemera pack. I also have this piece of stamped Bible text that is from the Weathered Word stamp set. This stamp set is from ByTheWell4God, and I am absolutely in love with it, and I love just using it as a layering element. I also have this picture of this gorgeous lady. I just love how happy she looks, and it makes me think about how happy we are when we trust in Jesus and just have our full trust in Jesus. So this little picture is actually just from a thrift store. I grabbed a bag of photos and I was so excited to see her picture in it, just because you can tell how much joy she has by her smile. And so anyways, I thought this was the perfect page to add her to, and it actually goes along with the whole color scheme I have going on anyhow. As I was looking at the different die sets I had this month that might go along with this kit, I noticed that I had the word sweet. Now, I don't usually use word dies. If I have alpha dies, I'll use those. But word dies, I just don't use that often. I don't make cards or anything. But scrapbook.com had sent me this set. It's actually from their own line. And they had sent me it to make a card for them a number of years ago, I believe. And so I was so excited to see it again. So I decided I was going to spell out the title, "'Tis So Sweet," because as soon as you say those words to me, I know exactly the next line. And so I'm already singing the hymn in my head when I think of that. And so I decided to add those to my page. Now, the sweet obviously is from scrapbook.com. The "'Tis So" is a typewriter font die from Tim Holtz. And I wanted to add that kind of rust look to the sweet word as well, because I have it going on in the flashcard and I just wanted to add it to somewhere else on the page so it didn't look so dark. Now, grit paste, you're not really supposed to dry with a heat tool. You're supposed to let it air dry. Do I always let that happen? No. But I was trying to be good today, so I kind of set it off to the side as I was building this cluster. Now, like I've said in previous videos, I don't really like things flat on a page. I like it to look more natural and roughed up a little bit. And so as you saw me put the glue down, I didn't put the glue on the, far corners or anything, because I want to roughen it up. So I will use just my fingernails to kind of grab the edges, kind of fold over sides and whatnot. I just want it to look more natural and not so pasted down. The ink from my rust technique definitely bled through the word flashcard and also bled a little bit past the Snowfall grit paste lines, but I don't really care because, like I said, it looks more natural that way. And so anyways, if you are doing that technique, just realize to, dab up the excess ink and know that it probably will bleed through. So make sure to let it dry a little bit. I did get a couple splotches of that rusty Hinge color around my page, but luckily it goes along with my color scheme, and so you don't really notice it that much. I added this little label to the bottom left-hand corner to add my date. I also have this piece of old vintage paper that I stamped out that weathered word. That's the stamp that I was talking about before. That is an add-on to this kit. I love it. Go and grab it if it's still in stock. And then I have this photo like I was talking about before with this lovely lady. I just added a paper clip to kind of add some metal touches, but also to fill in that empty space in her photo. So I will add that to the cluster as well. And then I'm going to add 3 metal fasteners to that bottom label because I want to add more metal to this page. And why not fill in the area? And so I am never good at adding these fasteners. For some reason, no matter what, they never line up perfectly. But I'm going to give it my best shot and put my, best foot forward by pre-punching these holes with my little pen that has a needle in it. It works fairly well. I mean, they ended up pretty straight. But anyways, that it just is what it is. So as I was laying this cluster down on that hymn book paper, that's exactly how I thought I would do it. It was just putting glue on the back of this cluster and pasting it down. But I noticed that I really wanted it to be just a little bit elevated, a little bit set apart from the hymn book paper. And so I had to grab my foam tape. Now I skipped ahead because this was a lot of fussy cutting those little pieces for the stems and everything. It took quite a bit of time, but it was completely worth it. So now I'm peeling all those backer pieces off. I will place this down. I did forget that I wanted to add some mummy cloth and lace, so you'll see me kind of lift some of those pieces up to fit that underneath. But I really like how that foam tape just separates the main part of the cluster from the background. It's always a good option for me. But here you'll see I forgot that mummy cloth that I wanted to add. So I wanted to separate the weathered word stamp from the photograph because they were of similar color. And so by adding that mummy cloth, it really helps differentiate that. I do kind of pull it apart to give it more texture in the background. And then I decided that I want more mummy cloth. So I decided to put some underneath that label. So I'll kind of try to lift it up with my tiny little scissors and get some to pop up. And then I also put lace on top of that one. I have really loved using lace over mummy cloth lately. I'm not sure exactly why. It just is absolutely beautiful to me, having that feminine lace touch on top of this grungy kind of abstract mummy cloth. If you don't have mummy cloth from Tim Holtz, you can also use cheesecloth. It would be very similar. Once those are both glued down, I will actually go up to the mummy cloth underneath the photograph and add just a little piece of lace up there as well. It's a very subtle look, but I absolutely love it. So anyways, now we can kind of come back over to this sweet word of my title. I'm going to dye it the same exact way with that rusty Hinge and ground espresso sprays. So it's just kind of very quickly because it's such a small piece. I also don't want it to bleed through that much because I don't want to wait that long before I add it to my page. Apparently I've lost my little rubber stamp chamois, so I've been using this flower towel, and yes, it is going to be ruined, but I've decided it's my little craft flower towel, and it really works for a lot of stuff. So you can clean rubber stamps with it, you can soak up extra ink with it. It's pretty nice. So we're just going to go with it. So now that I've waited a little bit for it to dry, I will add it to the top of my page. I try to get it lined up as best as possible without making it look funny with the splotches I have going on in the background. Also, that tis so I just left completely the same. It's just the paper that was in the paper pack. So it's a little bit of a different color, which I actually like. If you look closely, you can see the background on that God of Salvation stamp. You can see the hand lettering, how it is bleaching out some of those words. You can see it even more after it's just sat for a while. But it is a really fun technique if you want to bleach out some of your words on some inked background. After that, basically all I have to do is glue it down into my interleaved Bible. Now, I do really like this technique of working outside my Bible on this one background page, especially if you're using texture paste, through a stencil. Sometimes it can get a little wonky when you're working with so many pages that are in your interleaved Bible. I think I could work on so many more pages if I just work on my, paper outside of my Bible and then glue it down. I do use my Barely Arts glue. I make sure to put a good amount down on the page itself. And I also go around the edges of this paper to make sure that it's laying down flat and there's no little edges that can lift up. And that is basically it, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow my Instagram at Wonderfully Made Handcrafting. I'll try to link everything I use down below in the description, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.